Welcome back to Better Than Before, and we are honored that Tricia Benn is joining us today. She's an executive vice president with the C-Suite Radio Network and general manager of the Hero Club. This is a group of CEOs, founders, and investors who commit to a life balance of hard work while giving back to the communities in which they serve. Her responsibilities include leading teams across the organization, bringing in new partnerships, and building new business models to monetize the growth and opportunity within these communities. Previously, she was Global Chief Marketing and Strategy Officer and U.S. Managing Director within MDC Partners, a $3 billion global holding company. As an executive within both organizations, her goal is to transform businesses by creating a movement of collaboration that leads with integrity, transparency, and measures success beyond the numbers alone. Through a number of networking events, relevant content, and other services, her mission is to support C-level executives and other entrepreneurs achieve professional success. We are excited and honored to have Tricia Benn here today. Hi, Tricia.
Hi, Tony. So great to be here with you.
You are an action-oriented individual.
That is absolutely true.
And I didn't mention that you're a national speaker also, and you speak to multiple organizations, and you're quite a person on the go. One thing I was kind of wondering, where do you live, and what's your background? Where'd you grow up, and that sort of thing?
Oh my goodness. That's probably one of the most confusing questions I get asked, Tony, because I'm actually a Canadian. I grew up in southwestern Ontario, and I spent about 15 years dedicated to competitive figure skating. So my childhood was first very much a tomboy. I was driving tractor at 5 years old, learned how to drive on a 3/4 ton pickup. But I also had this competitive figure skating life and trained at the Olympic Training Center in Canada. And I'll tell you what, when you train 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and 1 millimeter here or there makes the difference between, a winning performance and being flat on your face. Speaking is very, very easy. I can move my head like this or my hands and nothing's going to happen. So it was a really great childhood for learning, just how to dedicate and look at how you deliver on long-term goals by setting up the short and mid-term goals that get you there, and certainly surrounding yourself with the people who will help you to deliver on that mission and want to be in that mission with you. So it taught me a lot.
I'm very familiar with northern women. My wife grew up in the northern part of North Dakota, which is just like 50 miles from the Canadian border, and she's very comfortable around cattle, horses. She can ride in a pickup truck, and she can skate on ice skates. So
exactly. My eldest daughter, when she found out about my figure skating past, my husband was telling her stories. She was about 5 years old, and she said, "Mommy, I want to be a figure skater just like you." And I thought, okay, well, here's where the real conversations start. I said, love,
yeah,
every child should learn how to skate, especially a Canadian girl. And she's our kids are dual citizens. I said, at the end of the day, you need to understand figure skating is not going to be your sport, love. It's going to be really important for you to find what is your sport. My husband is 6'7". So at 13 years old, she's already several inches taller than I am. So, basketball, swimming, I'm learning about tall sports, Tony.
Well, I grew up on a quarter horse farm in Kentucky, and I had a horse accident that injured my knee when I was 13. And so consequently, my right ankle has always been a little off and weak, and that leg has been a little bit different than the left one. So when I saw my wife skating on ice skates, my first thought was, wow, you must really have strong ankles,
There are a couple things there. Actually, strong ankles is not the thing for figure skating. It's strong boots, and I've got blend stains in mine still to prove it. Injury. Oh my goodness, working through injuries. I injured my knee as well, and for the rest of your life, that doesn't quite feel the same as the other one. That's for sure. Coming back to your original question, I actually now live in Pittsburgh. My husband is our stay-at-home dad, and this is where he's from. So 3 years ago, we decided we would move here. And given that I travel the better part of at least 40 weeks a year, it's really nice to be able to be here with the family and be supported here. Having said that, I'm headquartered in New York. and I travel everywhere. So, and I've lived in different parts of Canada, different parts of the US, and in England throughout my adult life. So that's why I said it's always a little bit confusing when people ask me where I'm from, kind of everywhere.
Well, we are a proud member and affiliate of the C-Suite Radio Network that has our show Better Than Before on it, and you're of course a very big part of that, and also the Hero Club. So tell me a little bit about what are you trying to accomplish with the Hero Club?
So the Hero Club is a council of the C-Suite network. And so what we mean by that is it's sort of a subgroup, a special community within the whole C-Suite network platform. And you're right, and we're so thrilled you're part of the C-Suite network radio, Tony. It's largest business podcast platform in the world, and we are so thrilled to see how it's growing. And but for the Hero Club, our mission is very, very clear and very concise. We're looking for great leaders that are CEOs, founders, investors. On the CEO and founder side, it's all about wanting to grow a business and have tremendous success. For all three, it's about impact. And so every single one of our members has pledged to lead with integrity, transparency, give back to their communities, and share in their success. And so it's just an absolutely phenomenal group. And we have one mission, which is just to help them accelerate the growth of their business. And the sort of subset of that is to really support and build a movement of this great leadership and great leaders for everyone to understand their impact on our communities, our economy, and our democracies.
You know, when I read somebody who has such an impressive bio like yours and is doing so much great work, I always think about the challenges that you've faced in the past. And one of the great things about having people like yourself on the show is we get to share that with our listeners. So I want to ask you about some of the challenges that you faced, and how did you face them? How did you overcome them? What did you learn? Things like that.
Geez, we all face challenges. I think probably the best thing I can say about challenges is when you are on the mission you believe you're meant to be on, and you have the right people on that mission with you. Every challenge is almost gamified, Tony. It's almost gamified from the perspective of, okay, how are we going to do this? We know where we need to be. So how do we get there? And I think, as you come to understand yourself better and how you're motivated and what really draws out the best in you, that's where you kind of get through those challenges, and your scale of 0 to 10, where everything suddenly is, you're at that 8 to 10 level where everything's a challenge, everything's stressful, everything's big, and you have those breakthrough moments, and it kind of spreads out again, and then you take on the bigger mountains. But yeah, that being on the mission, I think the challenges become just a matter of time, just a matter of time. How do you work through them? And time is the most costly thing we have in business and in life, right? So how do we get through those challenges faster? And so, yeah, I think it's just something, just accepting it's something all of us work through all the way through our careers too. I mean, Tony, look at your tremendous career and everything that you've done. You work through those challenges step by step, one step after the other, just like the rest, right?
When you said gamified, I had this incredible mind image of like Girl Scout and Boy Scout badges.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we earn those as we go through our careers, right? I've made this mistake and that mistake, but I got my badge.
It's such an interesting analogy because, as we get those badges, how do we think about how we bring others with us? And there are a lot of conversations about millennials, and you can put any name into that group. It's a prejudice to say it that way.
Right. I agree. And it wears me out at times.
It really does. It's wrong. We all know it's wrong. You could put any other name in there, and of course it would be wrong. And so, that badging system and how we really draw out the best of everything that everyone has to bring to the table, I think is a really critical piece of what being a hero leader is about. It's not about prejudging. It's about figuring out and making sure that you're aligning all of your values and your mission to draw out the best from every single person. And I thought of this last week. I was doing an interview, and we got into this discussion about millennials not joining boards and volunteering in the same ways that we did, the let's say 45 plus. And I said, it's because if they don't see any impact with a bunch of people sitting around a table. They can build an app right now and have it actually helping somebody, or they could be out doing something right now, help somebody. So this notion of kind of sitting around and earning our stripes, it doesn't equate totally, and it doesn't take advantage of the amazing things that they have to bring to the table.
I don't know how many times I have been requested to come to organizations and talk about generational differences, and I just refuse. What I tell them is I would love to come to your organization and talk about commonality,
Right.
And the things that are in all of our best interests, and the things that we have in common, and utilizing our various strengths and all of those types of things. But to just come and point out what the differences are, I'm not sure. I just don't know that that's helpful.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I had some really early cues because I was a woman executive in Gen X, and it's a very small generation.
Yes.
And I grew up in public affairs, a very male-dominated, field. And so I had this next generation that I really wanted to bring along quickly because I had big things I wanted to be able to accomplish, and I could see all these amazing things. And then on top of that, I was running a number of. I built an insights practice. It was the first insights practice built in an enterprise-sized organization in Canada that actually charged for research. So, in up until fairly recently, that was a business that was tens of millions in a cost center, and I turned it into a revenue-generating, insights practice. And what I saw in the benchmark studies that we were building was employees, and one of them is still ongoing. It's over 20 years now, the Sanofi healthcare benefit study. And what I saw in the data was younger employees just wanted the same things. They wanted exactly the same things. But the problem was that our, Gen X boomers, we expected they should have to go through the same earning process to get those benefits. And so I agree with you entirely. It wasn't about differences. It was about an expectation of the same, flexibility, control, purpose, meaning, all of these things that they wanted to be able to get that, frankly, we taught them is what they should be looking for.
Yeah, I think as baby boomers and Gen Xers, we just believed and were taught to put your head down, work hard, and good things will happen, and just have faith. But I believe that this particular group of people that are now quite aged in the workforce. I mean, we keep talking about millennials as if they're 19, and they're not. They're not. I mean, some of them are reaching their 40s, and I believe they want a career path. They want, it very well defined and explained what they have to do and where it's going to take them. And I've had numerous clients where they just had an incredible amount of turnover because they didn't have that career path laid out. And I think that's something that organizations have to do for that particular group. I'm glad that you brought up about being a female executive. I have a client right now, and she is just chomping to get to the C-suite. And while I've got you on the show, we have quite a few female executive listeners, and I want to ask you about your advice for female executives who want to get in the C-suite.
So I love this question, and I think it applies to, it certainly applies to women executives, but anybody that's sort of been outside of that C-suite or board table conversation. For women specifically, back in the 80s, early 90s, arguably parity in education happened. And the notion was that would mean that, you play out 20, 30, 40 years, and we'd see the equal or parity scenarios in the boardrooms, in corner offices, and so on. And of course, we're nowhere near that. So my personal opinion is that it's not about education and certification at all anymore. And so there are, and I've had some fairly heated conversations about this topic, with other women because, um, this notion that we somehow need more certification, we need more education. To me, it's like, well, that's nice. It's very nice, and it gives, if it gives you pleasure, if it feeds your mind, if it gives you, strength, courage, great. And I don't mean to in any way take away from that experience. But in terms of seeing larger numbers in the executive, in our boardrooms, I think it's part of just being part of real business conversations, and that for me again brings us back to Hero Club, where we create a space where, listen, if you're on this mission and you want to build great businesses, be successful, and do all of those things that means, with the values that we hold, because we're a value-based organization, then we're all for it and we're in. And we're creating a space where you can come and you can have those real conversations and be part of what's really going on for business decisions to be made. The idea that people get selected for boards because of their education and even because of their experience is ludicrous. That is absolutely table stakes. It's like saying we need oxygen to breathe. Of course, but you get selected because you can go to war together. You get selected because you can count on each other. You can there's a trust. There's a belief. There's a faith. There's an alignment, and you can't get that without being part of real conversations.
So, thinking back on having a mentor or a coach in your career, who was that for you, and what did you learn from them?
Oh my goodness. So I've had so many phenomenal people in my life, and I think obviously they're coming back to the conversation of real conversations that people that can give you um, that genuine feedback, and they're coming from a place that is constructive and supportive, but will give you that tough love. I think is really critical. For me, I think my mentoring started very young. My mother and my grandmother before that. My grandmother started her own business back in the day, and it was a kind of like almost like a secretarial services mail completion kind of company, and so she had her own money and a lot of independence and control, and all those types of things. And then my mother became a veterinarian and spoke globally. She did her master's while she had my brother and sister. She's absolutely phenomenal, and my mother as my early mentor really kind of made me her business partner, where she would share things she was working on in terms of culture with her teams, how to really create effective teams, how to build towards success, how to make a difference, all of those types of things. And then just being out there. I literally got to college age without understanding that there was any difference between what men and women could do in the workforce. I had no clue that that wasn't normal. I thought that was totally normal.
What's your mom's name?
Denna Benn, Dr. Denna Benn.
Oh, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're coaching, mentoring, and leading people, what's your favorite thing about that?
Oh my goodness. Well, so I would say my favorite thing about that, and I'm sure you have this as well, Tony. What are your conditions of satisfaction for your life and your professional life? And my first one is to always be reaching for my great. I want to grow until I die, and so I want to grow to my great, and I want to be helping others to get to theirs every day. So that whole fulfillment of mentoring and supporting somebody to get to their great is incredibly fulfilling for me. And one of my conditions of satisfaction, if I'm not doing that, then I'm not going to be satisfied with my day, my week, my year. It's just it's so incredibly fulfilling to see people reach for their great, which is not my great, which I absolutely love. And in a Hero Club, we have several hundred business leaders that are doing such extraordinary things. I always say, if I could live, I love vicariously living through all of them, because if I had 1,000 lives to lead, I'd lead each of theirs, it's tremendous to have just that tiny little bit of impact on people getting to their great.
What's challenging you right now in your work?
With the Hero Club and C-Suite Network, our biggest challenge is the greatest one you can have, and the biggest one you can have is growth. We're expanding and growing like crazy, and for any business leader listening, you all know what that means. It's definitely got its challenges, and none of us can find enough minutes in the day. Another one of my mentors has been Jeffrey Hazlett, our chairman and CEO, and now my partner. I'm on the leadership team of C-Suite Network, and that push. How do you make sure that you're prioritizing the most important things, and that everything we're doing is supporting the growth that we're looking for in the entire platform, and then with the different groupings that we have, obviously TV and radio, and our councils, which Hero Club is one of, and our other services and benefits and events and so on.
We're talking with Tricia Benn, who is the Executive Vice President of the C-Suite Network and also General Manager of the Hero Club. I know we have people listening today who want to know more. So how do they find out more about the Hero Club?
So you can just go to www.heroceoclub.com. heroceoclub.com. And if there's part of you saying, oh my goodness, is this real? Please go there and reach out, because there's just, tremendous leaders like Tony and so many more that are doing great things, and we'd love to meet you.
Well, Tricia, listen, you're a friend, and I'm so glad you took time out of your busy schedule to visit with us today.
Thank you so much, Tony, and thank you. This is absolutely fantastic. Love being able to join you.
Receive weekly coaching tips from Tony Richards, delivered straight to your inbox. Whether you're a CEO or an entrepreneur, Tony can help you reach your goals and give you a competitive edge within your industry. Tony's Monday morning coaching memo covers topics ranging from leadership development to teamwork to company culture and more. Text the word leadership to 38470 to sign up for Tony's Monday morning coaching memo, or sign up online at clearvisiondevelopment.com.